I wish you wouldn't be upset, darling. A person who acts like he did just can't help it.
Anyone can help that. Exposing a whole table full of people, strangers at that, to such rotten behavior.
He was terrible, wasn't he?
Eric, you know I've never tried to influence your writing in any way, but this once, would you mind if I made a suggestion?
Of course not.
Why don't you tell Saxon that you don't want to be associated with him? That you want him to release you?
That's a very unusual thing to do.
Do you want to work with him?
I suppose not, actually. He is a brilliant man at the theater, and I could learn a lot from him, but he's had me on edge since the day I met him, and now he's humiliated you. I'd be an idiot to become involved with a man like that.
Now you're talking. What do you think you'll do about it?
Oh, I'll just go to him tomorrow and ask him for a release. But he's such a tricky talker.
Well, he can't talk any better than you can write. Send him a letter.
That's a better idea. I'll write him tonight, and he'll get it tomorrow morning.
Is this the Eric Bush residence, and is this Mr. Eric Bush? I'm delighted to meet you. I've always admired writers. I've tried a little writing myself, as a matter of fact. Been working?
Not exactly, no.
May I come in?
You're in.
There are one or two things that I'd like to discuss with you. My name is Saxon, Matt Saxon. I'm in the theatrical business.
Come into the den.
Thank you. Ah, success. Is it any wonder these days that first novels are always the best ones, written when poor, put down after hours as an escape from the ordeals of life, as a haberdashery clerk. Haberdashery clerk. That's supposed to be your cue.
For what?
You offer me a brandy. Don't make it important. Just throw the line away.
Don't tell me you came all the way up here just for a drink.
As a matter of fact, I came up here to discuss with you our joint venture, the comic spirit. Where is your charming wife?
Where any wife would be after your performance tonight, in bed with a headache.
Oh, please, no important lines yet. It's far too early.
What do you mean by that?
Why do you think I've been indulging in all this small talk? I've been demonstrating something about the theater that no novelist understands.
What don't I understand?
Haven't you noticed? I've been demonstrating the leisurely opening of the play form. In a novel, your opening line can have terrific impact. Take as an example the first line of Kafka's Metamorphosis. Remember? Quote, "As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from a troubled dream, he found himself changed in his bed to some monstrous kind of vermin." Unquote.
I remember. And how would you do that in a play?
Well, let's say a novelist had written the play. Lights down, curtain up. A sudden shriek from Samsa's mother as she looks into the bedroom. Her daughter rushes in, asking, "What's the matter?" "Your brother," says the old lady, "has turned into a cockroach," and she faints dead away.
I don't say that's good, but what's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? Never throw your opening punch so quickly, as you did just now about my horrible behavior tonight. Let your audience become part of the theater, part of the play. Let them become accustomed to the actors. And then slip them the hot foot. See?
I see. That means that the opening of my play is wrong. That I shouldn't introduce my principles in the middle of an argument.
You're a bright student, Eric. Assignment for tomorrow. One opening scene, rewritten and double-spaced.
I'll get at it first thing. Saxon.
Trouble?
Yes,
Janet and Alma got along very well, didn't they?
So I heard.
Tell me, what did you think of Alma?
Alma, I liked her very much.
Alma Rag, isn't that a terrible name? Did you ever hear an uglier name in your life?
I knew a man named Rag, my hometown in New Mexico.
New Mexico? Oh, that accounts for your being out of the mainstream.
What do you mean? This play is the only uncontemporary thing I've ever done.
But you write of issues only among and between individuals. You never write of group problems.
The more concerned a writer becomes with a group, the worse he gets. The material of fiction is the unique character, not collective man.
That's very easy to say, but some individuals defy you to put them down on paper.
I've never met a person I couldn't write about.
I have.
Who?
Kid from 10th Avenue. Kid by the name of Joe Speck.
You couldn't write about a child?
I couldn't write about the child when he became a man.
But if you understood him as a child...
I didn't understand him. You wouldn't. Nobody could. He was a violent, rebellious kid. He was ashamed of his parents. Ashamed of their poverty. He stole money from the till in his mother's little stationery store. And when they argued with him about it, he wrecked the store.
Nice kid.
I told you he was difficult to understand. When he grew up, he borrowed every penny his family had to go into business. Made a fortune for them and then lost it. When they complained, he left home. He's never seen his parents since.
What happened to the parents?
I wouldn't know. As for Speck, he's convinced that the world is headed for mass suicide, and nothing is of importance anymore except himself. His arrogance has become unbearable. He cares nothing for happiness or success. He'd jump off a cliff if he didn't have to climb it first. What is there to do when a man deliberately works against himself and knows that he's doing it? He knows it at the moment of the act. It's an instant of premeditated disaster. He deliberately foments ill will among his fellows and gets kind of a drunken elation out of it. What do you make of that?
I understand you're Joe Speck in a way. He's never mastered control over himself, so he pretends to delight in flaunting his fellow man. I might have become Joe Speck myself.
You? I don't believe you.
My character transformation came about when I was just a kid. 11, as a matter of fact. Until that age, I was addicted to violent rages, even as your Joe Speck. I had an older brother who always seemed to be taking unfair advantage of me in games. One time I decided I'd had enough of his bullying, so I jumped him and we tussled, until suddenly I went berserk. There was a Boy Scout hatchet lying nearby, and I picked it up and threw it at him, but he ducked and it missed his head by less than an inch. It was razor sharp and going blade first. There was a tree about 2 feet back of his head, and it hit that tree and stuck for a moment. When it fell out, sap started bleeding from the bark. I'm not responsible for the transformation in me, but I've not been capable of deep, unreasoning anger since that day.
You should have grabbed the hatchet and tried again. That's what I would have done.
It's pretty late. You'd better come to bed.
Oh, hello, dear. I thought you were asleep. I'll be with you in a minute.
I eavesdropped on some of your conversation. I discovered something about you. Now I know why you can control your temper so well.
Oh, that. It slipped my mind until tonight.
Is that the letter you were writing to Saxon?
Janet.
Listen, you don't have to explain to me. If this is what you want to do, go ahead and do it. After all, I'm not the one who has to work with him.
Hey. You know, every now and then I'm reminded of why I married you in the first place.
Come on.
Good afternoon. I have an appointment with Mr. Saxon at 5:30.
I left Matt at rehearsal a half hour ago. He said to tell you to meet him at the Fuss and Feathers. More changes he made in The Barefoot Man. How can you ever open a play with half of it always in the typewriter?
I beg your pardon, did you say Fuss and Feathers?
Yeah, that nightclub on 52nd Street. He's meeting you there after rehearsal.
But we were going to discuss changes on my play, The Comic Spirit. You can't do that in a nightclub.
Mr. Bush, if I was you, I'd settle for the nightclub. Otherwise, you might wind up in a steam room.
Of course you're looking for Matt, and of course he's at rehearsal. You know, when he's working, there is no such thing as time.
I hope he gets a hit. I hope he gets 2 hits.
Oh, you're very generous in a selfish sort of way.
Are you meeting Matt here?
Oh, this is the big moment of my life. I'm auditioning here tonight.
Well, you didn't say anything about it last night.
Well, I didn't know it then. Saxon arranged it after last night's little outburst. The Saxon charm is always turned on full the next day.
It's after 6, and Janet's expecting me for dinner at 7, so excuse me, I better call.
Well, right on time. Nice of you to meet me here. Where's Chris?
The bartender said he'd be along any minute.
Chris is the great god proprietor. He's going to sit in judgment on Alma's little act. Well, sit down, sit down. You're not going to spend all evening on your feet.
I was going to call Janet. She's expecting me for dinner.
Ask her to join us here. She and Alma got along beautifully. Besides, you probably owe her an evening in a nightclub.
But if we're going to talk about the play...
Plenty of time for that later.
Oh, please ask her. Tell her I can use all the support I can get.
If you like, I'll phone her.
No, I'll call her.
Oh, Matt, I'm scared stiff. I appreciate this opportunity, but I've never worked in a nightclub before.
No, don't worry about it. I'm here to see that you display your routines to the best advantage. Perhaps that rusty talent of yours could stand some oil.
Well, no, dear. He hasn't read it yet. What I'm calling about is that we're at the Fuss and Feathers. Fuss and Feathers. It's a nightclub. Alma's going to have a tryout here, and then we're to have dinner and discuss the play.
Oh, no, thanks. It's a business meeting, really. I think I'd enjoy my dinner more here.
Alma's very anxious to have you, and I think Saxon wants to make amends for last night. Give him another chance, honey, for me.
All right. Just this once, as long as Alma's there. Yes. Fuss and Feathers. Oh, that's all right. The cab driver will know. See you soon, dear.